So let me introduce Bill Chapman with Niskayuna Complete Streets. And Bill, I think you said that you'd prefer, this is really more of a conversation than presentation. And Bill said just people can unmute themselves and ask questions and discuss as we go, which is a little bit different than usual.
Sure.
Yeah.
And we have some experts here in Janet and Art Clayman and Brian Doherty, who's on our Town Complete Streets Committee. And so if I stub my toe or they want to add something, they can certainly chip in. So
Okay. And as background, I think you were a founding member of it since it was founded in 2017 here, and also
yes,
a
we actually
three-term, go
go
ahead,
ahead.
uh, a
Started in
three-term Niskayuna Town
2016.
Board member.
Yes, I did 3 terms on the town board. I was a state employee for 34 years, worked in a research and policy analysis unit with the New York State Department of Correctional Services, and 12 years as a town board member, and 7 years on the Schenectady Metroplex Authority. And while I was on the town board, I was very interested in sidewalks, and so it's kind of a natural extension to jump over on the Complete Streets Committee. And it was actually Safe Routes to School for a while, and then renamed as Complete Streets Committee. And really, it looks like I've hit the 10-year mark because we started in 2016. It's 2025, so the time has zipped by. But I've had fun very much, just because a lot of nice folks on the committee, and also it feels good to get things done. And I have had folks uh, join the committee, and they're on for a year or 18 months, and they're like, "Geez, Bill, we ain't got anything done. What's happening here?" But when you have kind of a 10 or 20 or 30-year view of the life of communities, that getting roads fixed or sidewalks or new schools, new town hall, all those things, they seem to take time. But um, my cousin from Arizona, said time's kind of like toilet paper. It speeds up when you get close to the end. So the more you've been around town, uh, things happen faster, and so but it's really a good feeling to work with your town board, work with the county folks, state folks, and others to make some suggestions and actually have things be transformed out in the infrastructure of the town, and you feel like it's going to have some life afterwards. So that's a good feeling.
So, Bill, would you like us to put up your first? Bill was going to have us just share some of his notes as he talks.
Why don't I just start with? I mean, I put the town board resolution out there. If I just look at a couple lines on it there, and
Okay.
start by saying, again, complete streets are defined as roadways that enable safe and convenient access for all users, including bicyclists, pedestrians of all ages and abilities, motorists, movers of commercial goods, and public transportation. And I I included the town board resolution uh, just because it's good for the committee to have the endorsement of the governing body, the town council in the town of Niskayuna, and it outlines some of the objectives of complete streets. And really, I think of it as sharing the road. And a lot of times we think of a highway budget, or we think of highways, and I'm done with this right now. Folks can look at it as well. There's another paragraph there, um, kind of the second whereas. Yeah, right there. Stop there. Uh, Streets that support and invite multiple uses and include safe, active, and ample space for pedestrians, bicyclists, public transportation, are more conducive to the public life and efficient movement of people than streets designed primarily to move automobiles and trucks. So I'm done with that. It's out there if people want to look at it, and would just like to return to faces again, if that's okay, Sarah. Thank you. Um, I mean, I think of it as kind of sharing the road, and I also, when it comes to funding, have kind of pointed out that people pay their taxes, and a lot of times it goes to the highway budget, and you don't want to just have to be looking for grants. Everybody says, oh, you need to get a grant for that. But there's actually considerable money sitting in municipal budgets, either the county highway budget or the town highway budget, certainly with the state. And I've kind of encouraged people and government bodies to think of those as transportation dollars, not just highway dollars, that people that ride bikes, people that are pedestrians, people that take the bus, they all pay their tax dollars too. And it's nice to have some of those allocated to pedestrian movement and buses and bicyclists, and not just for cars and roads. So um, and I think as people get more involved, that there's vote support for pedestrian walkways and bicycle transportation and more passive uses. And voters are going to support those things, so that it's good if your local bodies do the same thing.
Bill, did it take any doing on your part to get the town board to either pass the resolution or establish the committee, or is it non-controversial?
We have an excellent planner in Laura Robertson. And so she imported the boilerplate from another community or from the state. And I was really very surprised that the town that she put it before the Economic and Planning Development Committee in Niskayuna, they liked it. And, you know, a month or so later, they adopted it. And it really has kind of firm language that empowers the committee to do a lot of things, and says, like for instance, town roads, more passive, because we don't have sidewalks on a lot of streets. You ride bikes and walk and get around. But certainly Troy Road and county roads have got a lot of activity on them. And so if they have complete streets treatment, that's good. It makes them more usable for pedestrians and bicyclists. And
If I remember right, that Safe Roads to School, I know there's a push, Jared Wells and a few others, they pushed that for a while
yes,
before
yes,
it became,
yes.
there was some groundwork.
Yeah. Oh, yes. As a matter of fact, we have a map. As a matter of fact, I've shared it with Art, and he would like to hook it on to the Schenectady Complete Streets map. And really, I think our goal would be, we'd like to see Schenectady County a map, so that if you're going across from Buffalo to Albany, and you're biking across or whatever, or you just want to, you live in Glenville, Rotterdam, Niskayuna, and you want to get to someplace and it's a bikeable, then you can actually go to your phone and pull up a map that would show you the way to get where you're going, and having a complete streets map. And ours, we do hope to put it on the town website, and it's kind of a dual use map right now. It's got things that we want to see happen as well as what is already there. And so it's almost, we need to put one out that's got the connections as they are now, and then a second layer with things that we want to see added to it, so that we don't mislead a bicyclist or a pedestrian into assuming you can go somewhere and they get there and it's overgrown or there's no path or whatever. But that certainly is our goal. And Jared did work on the original Safe Routes to School map that we did. In terms of objectives, I really think it's connectivity, and it's safer access to being able to move around the town. And connectivity is like, well, where do we want to go? We want to get to school. We want to get to recreational places like the town parks, the Mohawk Hudson Bike Path. Um, we want to be able to connect with our neighbors, to get to the neighborhood next door or other places. So it's connecting with the neighborhoods. Want to be able to get to work. I mean, there are many people that may bike to GE or bike to Capel, bike to school, bike to businesses, and others that ride their bikes to work, and also commercial areas to do a little bit of shopping, to be able to walk or take your bicycle to get there. And one of the things I do like to think about and quote is really it's a statement about Copenhagen. In Copenhagen, they do a lot of biking, and they plow the bike paths just as abruptly as they plow the roads with the snow. And they say there is no such thing as bad weather. There's only poor clothing. And they show people on bikes getting around, and that would kind of be our goal. So I just think of it as sharing the road. When we say share the road, we want bicyclists to be able to move on the road where there are cars there, pedestrians to be able to get around on the roads, people to be able to use the buses to get around. And there are kind of many things that we do, just kind of a quick list on motorists. I mean, we do look at traffic calming. We're interested in reducing speed for cars. We support sharing the roadway, getting some more turn lanes, like we could use a turn lane at the Jewish Community Center. And the state has put longer turn lanes sometimes, say on Balltown Road, when you get to Upper Union, extending that turn lane to make it more efficient for folks to get around. But, we speed monitors, they seem to reduce traffic by 5 miles an hour just by seeing what your speed is and if you're going over it. And then painting a sharrow on the road is a message to motorists that, well, you may anticipate bicyclists or pedestrians here, and so be aware of them. And pedestrians, again, there are lots of things there. We talked about sidewalks, curb cuts and ramps, marked crosswalks, pedestrian actuated crosswalk signals, shared use paths, so both bicyclists and pedestrians can go on them, and certainly connections. For instance, Troy Road has a sidewalk on both sides of the road. It doesn't have a bike lane, and the folks looking at it, including Brian that was out walking. I mean, that's certainly one of the things we want to talk to the state about as well. Should we make the sidewalk wider and include bikes and sidewalks on that, or should we think about fitting a bike lane in the traffic lanes in some capacity? Again, bicyclists, having some bike lanes, some shared use paths, bicycle route signing and push button crosswalks, they help as well. If you ride the bike path, you know where the old former junkyard was on Aqueduct Road. There's now a push button crosswalk to get across there. And there are push button crosswalk at St. David's and River Road to get access to the Mohawk Hudson bike path. And on Flower Hill, the town spent about $500,000 to go. It's over kind of Flower Hill is off of Troy Road, and it's got a bike path that gets you down to Rosendale Road, and then a little connection that gets you over to the Mohawk Hudson bike path. So trying to get more bike lanes in. And I'm also encouraged, the state did put bike lanes over the Rexford Bridge when they did it. And so students that live in Applause that go to Niskayuna High School actually could bike to school. They could come down Applause Avenue and cross over Balltown Road and take the bike path across the Rexford Bridge and then up East Street, William Street to get to the bike path, and then the bike path around to River Road, where there's now at St. Joseph's and River a push button crosswalk. Then you can come down Orchard Park Drive and then hop on an asphalt path to get over to the high school. So there is a way to bike to school along that route. You don't have to be on Balltown Road, which is much more hazardous, but you can get there. And then public transportation, we're obviously there's no bus that goes north-south on Balltown Road, even though it's an important conduit north and south. But we would like to get bus service there, and that we've even had some residents that are at Kaplan GE that are asked about, instead of the bus coming up from the city on Knott Street, turning around in the Price Chopper lot and going back, is actually going on up to Van Antwerp Road and going up to GE and up to Capel and having stops there so that people can take the bus to get to those. And then obviously the town has snow removal, so they do it the roads, but they do have a machine where they remove snow on the sidewalks. And the town has had kind of an agreement with both the county and the state that where they build a sidewalk, the town is willing to plow the snow off of it. So the town really gets the long-term cost. If the state or the county is willing to build a sidewalk, the town is willing to plow the snow off. And I've tried to encourage, I mean, the way things are now, there's a driver on the snowplow route. He's got a, I mean, it's still car mentality. We've got to get the snow off the roads. And then once the snow is off the road and his route, then he jumps over on a snow machine and goes out and plows the snow off of the sidewalk. So they do eventually get the snow removed, but I'd like to see, you know, another machine so that like Copenhagen, we have somebody that gets started removing the snow from the sidewalks. And a lot of times the snow plows plow the snow onto the sidewalk. So it's good to be able to move that. I would like to say a little bit about resources to fund projects. And as I mentioned, there are budgets out there. And so it's really, if you're an active committee, and the town of Niskayuna, we did have a proposal to do sidewalks on Cornelius leading to Hillside Elementary and Birchwood Lane. And we submitted a grant, a Quality Communities grant, which our neighbors in Glenville got to do the sidewalks on Applause Avenue, but we didn't get the funding for that. But I did appreciate that the town board put the money in. They probably put about $500,000 in the budget with another $500,000 matching from the state grant. And so that's a big step for a town board to do in favor of pedestrian and bike access. We didn't get the grant. We used some of it to do some of what was left in the budget to do one block of sidewalk on Palmer Avenue just to get from Grand Boulevard up to Van Antwerp Middle School, and also to do some design work on Hillside and Birchwood Lane, both of which have elementary schools at the end and a lot of busy traffic on them. So town, county, state, school, that, you know, we're on the committee. We don't sell pumpkin pies, but we do try to utilize piggybacking on work that a town or a municipality is going to do. And for instance, the county, well, we've asked the county to do some things, and they've actually been more open to do them. We gave them some input on Grand Boulevard on some things we'd like to see. We asked the county for a push-button crosswalk at Region and Knott Street, which they've done. And we also have a 2-block segment of Knott Street, which is, we've got some stores at Knott Street, and then a sidewalk that goes along Knott Street in and out of the trees that I started on in 2003. And many residents were hesitant because they thought, oh, the county's going to cut down the trees, but we didn't. We went in and out of the trees, and Janet Holliker walks that sidewalk to get to the co-op and can attest that the sidewalk, they didn't cut down the trees. It goes back and forth, but they did leave a 2-block segment from Baker Avenue down into the city, which is kind of a hazardous spot. It's got a hill, so motorists can't see the pedestrians and the pedestrians cannot see the motorists. And so we, several of us went to a county legislature meeting, and we asked them to make that repair, and they're going to do it. It's taken 20 years to get there, but the county is going to pay for half of it, and the city of Schenectady is going to pay the other half. So that's part of getting that completed. And I think one of the things of an advocacy committee is that you kind of have to stay with stuff. And we have our goal statement that's out there, and you really have to be almost alert to things that are going on in the town to get other things done. And the school district has done a lot of bonding on improvements to Iroquois Middle School and Van Antwerp Middle School. But what we and the high school, and what we said to the school board and the principal is, well, gee, you're redoing these parking lots, but you have several pathways that get to the school building. So it's actually from the property line of the school campus to the building. They may have mud trails or no sidewalks or whatever. And so we're reaching out to them that, if you'd use some of that asphalt you've got left or whatever, is to, put trails that will take you from the edge of the school property to the school building. And the school district actually did it there from Garden Drive and also from Mohawk Trail. They did some improved asphalt pathways that would take people from the edge of their property to get to the school building itself. And, they were already doing the work. So we were just like, hey, how about asking the dump truck driver to take an hour of his lunch break, haul some gravel over here, do some grading or whatever, and to do some things that can happen. And so that's good. And so we've looked at all 8 school campuses. And for instance, a new sidewalk on Plum Street to get to Hillside Elementary. We've gotten a couple of asphalt paths at the sidewalk, asphalt paths at the high school. We're doing a 1-block sidewalk from Grand Boulevard up to Story Avenue, but the school district has said, wow, our sidewalk in the front of the building is overgrown with weeds and earth. And so they're improving their sidewalk at the same time. And I have found that with other municipalities that if it looks like you're doing something, you're spending some of their budget, they're willing to do the same thing too, to have that connectivity and better accessibility to schools. And so if the county is looking to say, well, gee, the town's spending some money to do some things, so maybe we can. And the school district is spending some money to do some things on their campuses, and the town has asked us to do some things there that we can do that. And certainly with the fatalities that we've had on Troy Road, probably 10 accident deaths in the last 5 years, and 2 pedestrian car accident deaths in the last 1 year, that they are paying attention to that road and some of the things that are going on. So it's municipal budgets, also grants. I mean, a lot of federal money comes to state agencies, and then towns apply to get that money. Quality Communities grants, Safe Streets and Roads for All, a federal grant, Americans with Disabilities money. And we also found that the Metroplex Economic Development, the county applied for money to do the co-op block over here in Niskayuna. And I can just mention that a little bit more in a second. But Metroplex also put in $250,000. And National Grid is also willing to spend some money on sidewalks. And so part of it is just writing the letters and having your town supervisor and your town board send those letters to places. And it may take a while for things to happen. It may be no in the beginning, but if you don't ask, you don't get. And so you at least need to ask. And I found the same with grant money, that I admire the folks in Glenville that have been very aggressive about getting grant money. And grant monies are state and federal tax dollars that land up there, and they have grant programs. And if you're not aggressive about trying to go out and get that grant money to get your share of what's going on, you're not going to get anything. And what will happen is your tax dollars that you're paying the state will be used to fix somebody else's community up. And so, we're advocates for encouraging the town to apply for grant money. And many towns have a grant preparation person that I mean, that's their job, is applying for grant money, and it's really it's a good thing to bring those resources in. Um, Also, private development, the private developers doing thing, and our planner, Laura Robertson, reaches out to us to review projects and to make recommendations to the town planner and the planning board for projects that are going to happen. And some people may be familiar with the Kelts property. It's across from um, Jeff Blatnick Park. And we in our town plan, we actually had not Street East, and then Windsor Drive would all go all the way down and connect to River Road, but there was a lot of neighborhood opposition to that, so the road didn't go in. But we did get the bike path that went all the way through, and so not Street East, Windsor Drive, and the bike path goes all the way down to uh, really Blatnick Park.
Yeah,
And what we asked
that's
the
a great
developer to do
addition.
was to move the push button. One was to create a push button crosswalk and to have it right at Blatnick Park. So you take your bike down, and before we did have a bike crossway there, but the kids would shoot along on their bike. They look over their shoulder, and traffic moves quickly on River Road, and they would scoot across. And so now we have, for pedestrians and bicyclists, a push button crosswalk there. But we asked the developer to do it. And so, I mean, he didn't get the money to do that out of his own pocket. He included that in the price of the houses. So if he built 25 houses or so there, some part of the money to do that was there. But it's still being on the lookout for, oh, here's a housing project that's going in. We need a push button crosswalk here. We're going to ask for that to be part of the development project. And it was. And there are other projects, like there are some condos that are being considered around the CVS around the corner here on Balltown Road. And we'll be asking them to do a sidewalk that will go from Balltown Road and Van Antwerp up the way a little ways up to Hilltop Avenue, and the sidewalk along that will be part of the cost of the project. But as kids ride down Hilltop, we'll also be asking for a push button crosswalk at Hilltop and Van Antwerp. So all of the fifth and sixth graders that will now be going to Van Antwerp Middle School, many will live in those neighborhoods. They'll come up, they'll be able to press a push button crosswalk, walk across Hilltop, walk from Hilltop across Van Antwerp, and then take the sidewalk down to Van Antwerp Middle School. So it's just good if you have ideas about things that need to be done, and you can ask for them both in bigger public projects or private projects to get them done. And so that's been very successful for us. I did want to say, well, I will just say quickly on the co-op block is almost it's here in Niskayuna. It's almost a good example of trying to do several things at once that are all complete streets friendly. The county was it has the co-op grocery store, it has Lang's Pharmacy, it has liquor store, barber shop, stationery and photocopy store and everything. And the county was troubled that people were backing out onto the road. And so you have a lot of fender bender accidents. And the sidewalk along the businesses also had a two-step down sidewalk, which made it hard for grocery carts or baby carriages or wheelchairs to get there. And we also had a lot of folks that walked to the co-op, but there was no sidewalk on this side, and just so several things to try to accomplish. So the road in front of the co-op does have a curve in it now, but it allows motorists to pull in and park diagonally in front of the stores. But when they exit the co-op block, they're facing forward, so they come down to the end. I mean, the highway moved over a bit to create the room so people can park diagonally and then face forward out, and so they can see left and right to turn out onto the road. But the steps on the sidewalk were taken away, so it's a graduated sidewalk, so you can push a baby carriage or grocery cart or a wheelchair along there as you move along, and it's a wide sidewalk. It's got a curb there so the motorists don't drive up on the sidewalk into the pedestrians. And it also has a sidewalk on the south side of Knott Street. So a lot of people walk up Clifton Park Road, they walk up on local streets to do their grocery shopping, which we encourage. And now they can walk on a sidewalk, walk down to the co-op, push a push button crosswalk, or there's another crosswalk now in front of Lang's Pharmacy. So you push the push button crosswalk, and obviously you stand on your side of the road and you wait till you can make eye contact with the drivers going both directions to make sure that they've stopped their car before you go out. You can't just assume you can push the button and sail off, or you'll shorten your days by doing that. But generally, drivers are getting better educated at stopping at crosswalks. And probably the insurance company is like, well, geez, you ran over somebody in the crosswalk with the light blinking, and they've got their paraphernalia on. It's going to put our attorneys in a pretty tough space to wiggle out of this one. So they're doing a better job of stopping. And also,
Bill, the
the-
original
yes.
original project over at the co-op did not call for bike racks for bike parking, and I and
Yeah.
my organization Cycle Schenectady got Gilwin and Metroplex to spring for those bike racks after the fact.
Yeah, one question on that intersection. I know
I'll have to look. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to think where the bike racks are, if they are there, or if they're not there. Then I probably need to reach Ray Gillen to say, hey, wait a minute,
Yeah.
we had
well, they
bike
used to be
racks
right
that were-
around the corner of the co-op, like right
On
inside
those
the co-op.
those islands, there are 2 bike racks now.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay, good. So they are there. Good, yes.
Yeah,
And
Bill,
as-
one question on that intersection
Sure.
itself. I know that the town was interested in redoing the traffic calming, because that was the highest accident density in the town. Do we have data now, since the calming effects have been in, that there are fewer accidents?
I can ask. I mean, it's a good question. I'm assuming they've gone down a bit, but it's a good question to ask. We did ask for improvements to the intersection at Knott and Balltown Road, that it doesn't have a left turn lane. So as
Oh, yeah.
cars are eastbound, if somebody wants to turn left, you got to wait in line till that car turns left. And
Yeah,
then
I'm also curious. I think that I know there was some concern about traffic slowing down with the calming effects, but it's a signal limited intersection, as both roads are. So there
Yes.
should be no effect on traffic flow.
well,
Um,
the state has said when they get ready to look at that intersection again, they might. In other words, there's a left turn lane on the opposite side of the road, but not one on this side. But it's a state intersection. They just decided they want to wait till they look at the whole intersection again. And it might be that they could get some land from the bank on the other side, or do something to allow movement. But generally, we're pretty satisfied. And also, in the project kind of cleaned up Crescent Road, which is part of the end of the co-op block, Crescent, because it was a wide open road and it was a long walk to get across as a pedestrian. And it also was the Wild East there, or the Wild West, because cars coming in from many different directions, and Crescent Road that curves. And it was, I mean, you still have to pay attention going there, but it got narrowed up a bit, and some cars are parking there. So it works more like a regular intersection. So that was a good thing. And also just that more people are willing to walk to get to the co-op. And so I think it's a goal of people on Via Del Mar, on Valencia, Clifton Park Road, all the roads, can now walk and actually get to a sidewalk where they can walk. So it meets that needs. It's safer for the cars. I'll have to get some data on the traffic calming, and it's got some bike racks. And so it really connects you to a commercial area where people want to shop. And then, it also invites walking to the rest of the area that's up there, kind of downtown Niskayuna, with the post office, high school, Price Chopper Grocery, and that sort of thing. So it's kind of a good example of a complete streets project that worked out.
Just a comment on that intersection of Balltown and Knott. that I don't know if I think there must be some research on this subject, but that when cars approach a big intersection with lots of lanes, the drivers tend to take that as an indicator that this is a car area and I can drive like I would on a highway. And so the more lanes you have, the more you get that impression. And when you look at since I walk that intersection a whole lot, I noticed that there actually are 4 lanes coming down the hill on Knott Street to Balltown, Knott Street East to Balltown. And that right turn, if you were coming down the hill heading down to Balltown from, say, the Price Chopper, that right-hand lane, which is designated as a right turn lane, is really not needed at all. The only thing it does is it allows the very occasional fast car to come along and turn right when there are pedestrians walking.
Yeah, I will say, I very
because
Talking about
it
the other
is-
side, that there's a right lane on the east one, but that could easily just be
Oh, you're
one
talking
lane,
about the
so it's
east-
both forward and
Well, I'm talking
right.
about the east side, the
Yes,
east side, and
Yeah, going-
that right lane is really not needed because
Yep.
most of the time the traffic is heavy enough on Balltown compared to not that people don't really need
Yeah.
to. Nobody even has a chance to turn right on red.
Yeah, Janet, I will say, I do very often ride that direction through that intersection on a bike going straight.
Mhm.
And yeah, cars are often like, don't seem to like understand why I'm there. And yeah, you gotta be in the middle, center traffic
Mhm.
lane to go straight on a bike. And yeah, very often, people are a little surprised.
That's
to
right.
see
If
me
you're over in the right lane, they might think you should be in the right lane, but
there.
that's a right
Yeah.
turn lane,
Yeah.
really. And it's not, so, I think it's always a good idea we might think that adding a lane is good for traffic flow, but
Well,
often adding a lane can make things worse for
yeah,
drivers
that was
and
kind of my point, is like
for speed as well.
these intersections that are controlled by lights, like they're never controlled by volume. So the lights are controlling the flow.
Mhm.
You're never backed up volume wise. So yeah, you could pitch down lanes and it doesn't affect the net traffic flow.
True.
Some people may have to wait a little longer to make a right turn once in a while, but yeah, on net it usually does
But
nothing.
rarely, yeah. Usually if somebody needs to make a right turn and they're ready to, they're just in the go straight lane anyway. But anyway, that's a,
Let me
Yeah.
quickly move on. My time's gonna scoot away, and
Sorry about
I'm
that.
kind of like what Abe Lincoln would say is a poor preacher. It takes him twice as long as anybody else to say his message. But one of the things that we struggle with on Complete Streets a little bit is that we have different road types. Obviously, we have some state highways in Route 7 and Balltown Road and State Street, and I'm going to come back to Route 7 in a minute. But we also have county roads that are collector roads, and obviously the state makes the decisions about what happens on state roads. And we have county roads that 18 county roads, 23 miles, and we're kind of in the beginning of working with the county on getting some sidewalks or multi-use paths on them. And they're the old farm to market roads that they were there before most of the town roads were there. And so they do go around the town to move folks along. The one downside is many of them have only a narrow right of way. They may only have like a 40-foot right of way. So you think from the middle of the road, you've only got 20 feet from the middle of the road to the side. In the town roads, you've got 60. So you can go from the middle of the road if you want to do a sidewalk or a side path or whatever. You can do that.
Bill, I think your video got
Yeah,
turned.
I'm going to turn it back on here again. There we go. And if you've got 12 feet of road and then maybe you've got a couple feet of space and you've got a drainage ditch, then you may only have about 4 feet left, but you need 6 or 8 feet to do a sidewalk. And then you get into taking property or the possibility, and so you really have to ask residents if they'd be willing to give you some property or let you build on it. And so that's makes it harder to do on county roads, and we're kind of coming up against that. But we do have lots of county roads that go through the town, and so it's a real effort to try to get some sidewalks or some side paths on those, because they are collector roads, and it's a good way for people to use them to get around the town. And finally, we have 88.3 miles of town roads, and certainly use those. And most of them don't have sidewalks, so we use our complete streets map, and they're roads that you can get around on walking or bicycling. So, we want to make a good use of those. I talked about the co-op block as kind of a success. Just quickly, a quick minute on some accomplishments. I mean, traffic-wise, we have gotten a traffic circle at the Rexford Bridge, a traffic circle at Rosendale and River Road. The county's going to do another one at Rosendale Road and Old River Road. So we're, those move traffic more elegantly and quickly. And there are, sometimes they say more fender benders, certainly at the Rexford Bridge are more fender benders, but they do breathe and traffic moves along. And we have had some success getting, some bike path connections to the Mall Hudson bike path, and some Metroplex signage on the bike path. And we have gotten some push button crosswalks around the town, helpful to pedestrians, helpful to bicyclists, and going to keep pushing on that. And as I mentioned, we're also on the committee concentrating on safe routes to schools, and we figured that the kind of the least resistance from the public would be if we're trying to get sidewalks or multi-use paths that will allow kids to walk to school and walk with their parents to get to school. So trying to do that. And we have a epidemic of adult obesity, childhood obesity. And so that 10 or 15 minutes walking to school is good for the students, good for the parents. They're more alert and awake when they get to school. There's social activity that happens walking to school. You might get your first smooch on the cheek or your first bloody nose, but you learn some social etiquette that we all learned walking to school. And so we are pushing to do that. I did include some committee goals, and these are, I know that you can print them out and look at them. I actually prefer looking at faces as opposed to looking at the piece of the paper. So I'll just kind of discuss it a little bit here on some of them. And the number one on our list is Troy Road, because we've had fatalities on that road, 10 auto in the last 5 years, auto crashes, and then most recently 2 pedestrian. And the state is paying attention. I mean, the county has joined the town in writing to the state and appealing to them to pay attention to this road. And we have gotten a grant, $139,000 linkage grant, which allows us to hire an engineering firm to look at the road. And Brian Doherty and other folks of our town planner have walked the road. And really the idea is, what are the unsafe things about this road? I mean, certainly one of them is it is a road that goes through town, but it's a highway that goes through town, and the speed limits are 40 and 45, but really the average speed is 45 or 50 in the 40 zone, and it's 55 in the 45 zone. And so we've got to work on some calming things. And I think that during COVID, the speeders were on the road, and the rest of us were working from home or not working at all. And so people with bad driving habits had the rule of the road to themselves and drove all over the place speeding. And now we have people, regular folks, back on the road, but we still have kind of poor folks with poor driving habits still out there. And so we're still getting a lot of accidents. And so, the goal, and I think it's a good thing, is having the state be a participant in doing the study, is that, if you pay an engineering firm to look at some medians and some crosswalks and some street trees, some other traffic calming amenities that hopefully it's not going to be having to push uphill to get the state to be willing to do some of those things, that if their staff have been involved in doing the safety study itself, that they're going to say yes to some of these things, or they're going to help us look for money to do those things. And some of what we're asking for may not be rocket science. It may be things that they're already comfortable doing. They've done on other roads, and they'd be willing to use on Troy Road. So that's certainly a big one. You want to add anything to that, Brian, or does that sort of capture it a little bit? You're muted. You'd have to shut your mute off first, Brian.
Okay, yeah, no, I really don't have much to add other than that we're looking at a lot of stuff, trying to figure out what will work and actually what issues we're seeing and that the consultant is seeing and that DOT is seeing. So it's the study's not too far along yet, but it will be ramping up
Okay.
soon.
Doug, another member of Complete Streets, is also on that committee, Walk the Road. Anything you want to add to the Route 7, Carla, while you're here? You're muted, so turn the mute off. You have to turn your mute off first, Carla.
Okay, there we go. No, just that the public will have a lot of opportunities to give their input on that road as well, like through public survey, through a survey, through like a online mapper where they can put comments in, and there will be a couple of public meetings as well. So.
Okay. I would note that Carla lives pretty close to Troy Road, so some of the hardships and negative things she's seen firsthand. So it's good that we have, local folks on our committee that are familiar with the road and are out there. Another thing we do, submit grant applications. Again, in our committee, we want to be aggressive about encouraging the town to apply for grant money to do things. I mentioned that, we have a school concentration that's almost starting there first, looking at the schools and where there are impediments to having good bike or pedestrian access on the near roads around the schools to get there, and then talking to the school district on, well, once folks get to the perimeter of the school, do they have pathways? Do they have bike racks? Do they have pathways to get to the school, and crosswalks from the other roads to get across busy roads, say at Van Antwerp or Knott Street East to get to the school. We have a couple of school things mentioned on our list. Birchwood Lane, which now that it's been opened up to Colony, there's a lot more traffic on Birchwood Lane. It's faster. And we have a school there, so we're thinking about some sidewalks there with a push button crosswalk. Same for Cornelius Avenue in front of Hillside Elementary. We've talked about working with the county that Van Antwerp Road, we're looking at that segment just from the Crimson Oak Court, which is really just down from the traffic circle in front of GE. It's kind of a 2 or 3 short block section to get down to Knott Street East. And the residents of all out there said we'd like to see a sidewalk along that. And we are talking to those residents. And so it would be a goal to get a sidewalk there. And once residents on Van Antwerp Road, some will walk up to go to GE and then, to Capel, but others from Crimson Oak Court and on the street get down to Knott Street East. At least you can do some east and west. You can get to downtown Niskayuna, and even kids that wanted to go to Van Antwerp Middle School would be able to come along Knott Street East and then either use a piece of Balltown Road, or we're hopeful, a sidewalk through this development behind CVS that would allow them to get to Van Antwerp Middle School. So that's why we're interested in that. We've mentioned Rosendale Road and on the list. We're interested in that because Rosendale, it's a busy county road that connects people, really connects Rosendale Elementary School. It connects Van Antwerp Middle School. It got the Lishakill Preserve, and also a lot of neighborhoods that have roads that go down to Rosendale, but that you can't take a sidewalk down a little ways to get over to another neighborhood on Godfrey or another neighborhood. And there is a bit of a sidewalk on part of Rosendale. It's a sidewalk that goes from Mayfair to Rose Hill, but we really would like to have a sidewalk that really goes from Upper Union all the way down, certainly at least to the Lishakill Preserve. And also, if you had a multi-use side path, you'd be able to get to Rosendale Elementary, you'd be able to get to Van Antwerp Middle School, where the school district has now assigned all 7th and 8th graders to Iroquois Middle School. And so we've also asked for the school district to do an asphalt lane that would get from Rosendale Elementary over to River Road Park. And the beauty of that is, once you get to River Road Park, then you can go on Hempstead, weave around a little bit, and then you get to the bike path that will take you to the Mohawk Hudson bike path. But also, we'd like to see students that can ride their bikes to get to Hempstead that, would be on streets, Fox Hollow and other streets, that we now have an asphalt path that goes through River Road Park. So you can ride your bike on Hempstead, ride your bike through River Road Park, take the asphalt back way that's now kind of soggy to get to Rosendale Elementary and Iroquois Middle School, which means you now have bicyclists that even on Knott Street, where I live, or Clifton Park Road, where I live, can ride on Knott Street East, can take Fox Hollow, a couple of other streets, Sandra Lane, to get to Hempstead through River Road Park, and then the asphalt path through Rosendale Elementary, which basically allows kids to take a 10 or 15 speed bike to ride all the way to school in good weather and be able to get across Van Antwerp, Balltown Road, some busy streets with a push button crosswalk. And that's kind of part of our goal, is that if we're going to encourage people to walk or bike to school or some of these areas, we've got to make sure that the infrastructure is in place first, so we can say, here's the safe passageway to get from A to B, and we can walk it and bike it ourselves. And some of these are not, they're not that heavy a lift to make it happen. And once we do, then you get the benefit of being outside and the benefit of using those modalities. We have Craig School and Jewish Community Center on here as another school thing. That Craig School is hard to walk to now, but what we'd like to see is a new pathway, the new entrance to Craig Elementary School on Balltown Road, and it would line up with the entrance to the Jewish Community Center. And so you'd put some turn lanes in the middle of Balltown Road, so north and south auto traffic could make a left turn into Craig Elementary School, or the other way, turn into the Jewish Community Center. You'd have a push button crosswalk there. And the JCC is the refuge area for students at Craig Elementary School. And so it would be an expensive project, but it would meet a lot of needs, and you'd have a safe way to get across Balltown Road. And so that's on our list. We also have complete the missing bike path segments on Hillside Avenue. And if you drive along Hillside Avenue from Providence down to Banker Avenue, you'll see that there are segments of bike path that are in place, but missing segments. And really, if you go down Hillside Avenue and you turn on Banker, it takes you to the town swimming pool and soccer fields and Pop Warner fields and pavilions to have picnics. And Hillside Avenue is a busy road with lots of truck traffic on it. And so we really want to ask people to fill in those segments. And part of it is just asking. I mean, the Army Reserve Center, it could be we just need to send them the letter to say, hey, would you please do your segment to put in the bike path? and there's a chunk in front of the bus garage for Niskayuna school system, we need to ask them. And National Grid's got a substation, we need to ask them. And they might say, you know, we're happy to do this. We're glad we got the letter. And again, it's doesn't cost us too much. We got to write the letter and ask them to do it. We also have an apartment complex that, you know, they haven't put their segment in either. And so it really is trying to get that connection in place, because not only does it take you to the community center, but you can go around to Ward Lane or go on, you know, the avenue that takes you down to the Mohawk Hudson bike path. So you can get access to the bike path on this side of Niskayuna. Another thing that we want to do is use utility corridors. We talked in committee about asking utilities about trails underneath the corridors. And for now, we would just be asking, hey, is it okay if people walk their dog or ride their dirt bikes on the earth trails underneath the utility corridors? Because if there's one close to your backyard, it's a great recreational resource. You can walk your dog, and it's just really saying to the utility folks, would you mind, you know, if we did this? A couple other committee things. We are working on Chapter 7 of the Transportation and Mobility chapter of the Town Comp Plan. Complete Streets Committee asked our Comprehensive Plan Committee if they'd be willing to let us take a first crack at that chapter, and they have. And so the beauty to us is, you know, the master plan goes for the next 10 years. Maybe if it's not heavily rewritten 10 years from now, it could be we're writing text, writing guidance to the town of Niskayuna on the transportation and mobility planning in the town, with a strong emphasis on pedestrian and bike use. And so we're excited about that. We're working on that. We also owe Art a thank you. We've done some educational demonstration projects where we tried to have parents bring their kids and to take some tours, riding around, show them bike helmets and stopping procedures. And last one we had at Town Hall, we actually went down Knott Street East and took Orchard Park up to the new crosswalk at the Kilt's property, and then up around the loop in front of GE, and then the new push button crosswalk at St. Joseph's Drive and back again. So we have a nice loop where you can ride a bike, learn some safety features, go through 2 push button crosswalks. And, you know, we also have folks there that repair bikes. We have bike helmet giveaways, vests, everything. And so Josh is putting his hand up here.
No, I was saying that was me. That was the
Okay.
beginning.
Oh, good. Yeah, thank you so much. We also, you know, working with Metroplex, they've decided to do some safety signage on the Mohawk Hudson bike path. That's a good thing. We also need to look at e-bikes, because people are starting to say we need some regulation on e-bikes. I mean, how fast can they go on the bike path, or how fast can they go around town? And it's not just Niskayuna, it's the city and other municipalities. So, you know, we're looking at that. And you know, we're also, we have a little source document on traffic calming things that residents can look at. And we have the big map that Josh has mentioned, that Jared Wells and other people worked on, that was the Safe Routes to Schools map. That's
Now,
not
is
complete.
that map up on the town website available?
We've gotten some copies down to a 1-page size, but the point is, when they're that small, you can't even read the roads.
Yeah.
So we do have a big map, and we've shared it with some folks, and we do want to get it electronically out on our
Okay.
website, so that really you could dial it on your phone. I mean, you'd have to move the screen around a little bit, but if you wanted to see, here we are, here's where we want to go, and we can see it here. And so we are working on that.
The key is publicizing that. Yeah.
Yes, publicizing that. Yeah, and so a couple things. We do want to get you know, the big map out there, and then another thing we want to do is just a page where residents that want to communicate with us. I mean, we did do a survey of residents, and so we have input there. We did an earlier one in 2020, Complete Streets Committee, but we'd like to have just a spot out there so that you can go to the Complete Streets website. If there's an issue in your neighborhood that the town should be paying attention to, that we learn about it, And or if you have a recommendation on something that should be done in the town to make us more bikeable and walkable and safer, then we hear those ideas. So we are working on that. So it looks like I pimped out everybody on questions, but we got a couple at least anyway. And so
Yeah, there's
I
one.
know that you said you like to stop on time. It's 3 minutes after 8 here, so I'm willing to stay. If people want to ask another question, I'll stay and answer it. But if Sarah or Josh want to, permit people to depart, that's fine with me.
Yeah, I did have one quick question. I think
Sure.
I have talked with this about the town. I don't know if it made it to your committee or not, but the potential for a connection from St. James Plaza to Van Antwerp. Like often, like I'm in Rosendale Estates, so often if I'm going to Price Chopper, I'll cut through that apartment complex there. As long as their gate is open on the north side, you can get through. But I didn't wonder when those new condos went through that Knott's Landing. It seems to be an opportunity to put at least a path in along the fence line between Knott's Reed and Van Antwerp. I don't know if that was
Yeah.
ever thought of, or
We
that's
did
still
get a little
potential.
bit of an easement for the apartments, but when you get further down, and we are still talking about it. I mean, there's a little bit of a drainage ditch there that
Okay.
goes down, and it's not a wide space. I mean, we could ask the apartment folks if they'd be willing to let people kind of ride on that roadway in the back, but it would almost have to have, I think, a little something with maybe some chain link fence that identifies a bike path there, so that the liability for motorists or bicyclists that could fall or be injured wouldn't be on the apartment complex, that you'd have a bike path there with chain link
Yeah.
fence. And so it would be covered by the town's insurance. It would be leased to the town or whatever to the town. And one of our town board members actually backyard does back up onto it. So it is awfully attractive to be able to just go across there. Now people do it, and my guess is the apartment complex doesn't squawk, or
Well,
they
yeah,
might
they
say
have
it's
signs
private
not to,
property.
but yeah.
You shouldn't be doing it. So we certainly have looked at that. And we've been encouraged also about if you come down a little further, that you could maybe go on the road with these apartments that'll go behind CVS. But the TV station, Channel 6, has said they're trepidatious about how people biking on the back of their property. So
Yeah.
that's another issue there. So we have been thinking about this and pushing along on it. We did get an easement for part of it, and I guess we have to talk to some other folks. And I did talk to the florist folks, but their florist business is doing well, and they actually didn't want people biking through the middle of their property either, because Greens Farm Road does come down there, so you could
Yeah.
go through the florist, but that's their private property. So but
Okay.
it's a good attitude, Josh. You could be on Complete Streets because we're pushing the envelope whenever we can
Yeah.
on things. So
And also, you rattled off a bunch of projects. I think did you say something about a circle between Rosendale and Old River Road at the turn there?
yes, on Rosendale Road, where you hit the Colony Town line, you make a right turn on Rosendale, and you go down. You have Old Niskayuna Road or Old
Yeah.
River Road, and it's not far from the train station. But the county is going to rework that intersection, and I believe they're looking at a traffic circle
Okay.
there.
That's what
what
that would
we've
actually
asked for-
fit. But okay.
Well, it's tight. It will be very tight. They may actually knock down a house or have to do something. It's very tight.
Okay.
Matter of fact, they're so tight, we asked them for walkways around the circle, but there's not room to do that.
Okay.
And we
Yeah,
did have
our capital fire truck ended up in that guy's front yard one time.
yeah.
Didn't make that
But
turn.
we did ask for a walkway from Niskayuna Road down to the train station park. So
Yeah.
we are encouraging people that want to be able to get from Troy Road to be able to bike and get access to the Mohawk Hudson bike path, so they can ride on the sidewalk to get to Niskayuna Drive, ride over on that, and then we'd have half of a block of side path that would get you to the front of the entrance to the train station park, and you'd get access to the Mohawk Hudson bike path from there.
Bill, you mentioned the addition of Sharrows as a desirable thing. I consider that a cheap way out as compared to a real bike lane. Do you have any bike lanes that you're pushing anywhere?
Well, we did ask for a bike lane on Grand Boulevard, but the county's decided we're going to put parking there, and they said they'd put some sharrows in the drive lane, but I mean that's not really making it safer for bicyclists much. It's a busy road. Um, we do try to do bike connections, you know, where we can, pedestrian and bike connections. I wish I could rip off three right away, but I can't tonight. But we are interested. I mean, a lot of them are multi-use paths where you know we're working on one on Van Antwerp Road, and actually, if we can get from the traffic circle down to Knott Street East with a sidewalk or multi-use, then we'd want to continue on Van Antwerp Road all the way around to get down to Balltown Road. But again, going on the cheap there, if we can get people down to Knott Street East, then they can ride on the side path on Knott Street East and then maybe cut by the old post office and behind the TV station and then get over to Balltown Road, get over to Van Antwerp Road there without having to go on Balltown Road. It's a busy road. You'd be able to do that. Then you get access to Van Antwerp Middle School, and the sidewalk there does go all the way down to Upper Union. And then I've mentioned the multi-use path on Rosendale Road, which we want to do. We want to get that segment because it gives people to get from Troy Road over to Rosendale and then Rosendale down to the school. So and then if you get crosswalks on Troy Road, you're really opening up a lot of area for people to be able to bike and walk to get across town just by having a multi-use path on Rosendale Road. And we do have some people over there that are open to it. But you know, if there are some that their front porch is 10 feet away, that we'll have to beg them to do something. But we do have those. And then Carla Duggal that was here, we do want to get one on Console Road that we now have. If you go from Balltown Road down to the adult care home, you know, there's some sidewalks there. We want to finish that, but have the sidewalk, you know, continue on Console Road. And then again, we're you know, looking at other county roads, like people have asked about Pierce Road and other roads like that. But you know, we do have 20 roads, and I guess we want to develop the relationship with the county first by a couple examples, Van Antwerp, maybe Rosendale, maybe Console Road, where we can work something out and develop a pattern that, you know, we work with the county, and eventually, you know, we'd like to see multi-use slide path on all the county roads because they are kind of like arteries around the heart that can get people around the town, and having more people bike and ride would be great. And a lot of roads, the county roads, again, they don't have much shoulder. They have curves on them. They have speedy drivers, and so it's not really safe to have pedestrians and bicyclists up on the roads. But we do want to try to make use. And actually, Van Antwerp in Niskayuna, we do have a sidewalk from Balltown Road that goes down to Upper Union on one side of the road. And what the county did was they had a little asphalt path on either side. So they got rid of the asphalt path on one side. They moved the road over so they had enough space to put a concrete sidewalk in on one side of the road. And they got that space by moving the road a little bit over to the other side. And we'd like to see that even with county roads too, that you know, if you'd be willing to maybe move the road a little bit, then you get space within your right of way to do an asphalt path on one side and still stay within your right of way. So those are the kinds of things that we're looking at and working on. So anyone else? Hiya, Will. How are you? It's nice to see you.
If anybody has any other questions, otherwise, Bill, the website, if somebody wanted to talk to you another time,
Yes.
if they go to Complete Streets online, or how would they find you?
Well, certainly my email wchapman@nicap.rr.com. But, you could also email the town planners,
Laura, okay,
Robertson, and she's srobertson@niskayuna.org.
okay, and
And
keep in contact,
she would
yeah.
give the questions to us. But you're right, our website is defective in that we don't have complete streets at niskayuna.org, and we'll have to add that, Sarah. And
Okay. All right,
that's a
well,
great
I've got your
idea.
email, and we really appreciate you telling us, first of all, for your good work and for telling us all about it. Thank you so much.
Well, it's not just me. I mean, I have active members that are on the committee, and so it's a good group. We try to move things along, and Laura Robertson's a good town planner, and we've been grateful to the town board in helping us get some things done. So it's kind of a win-win. So
Excellent. All right,
thank you
well,
for having us.
I'll wrap it up by just saying our last one before we break for the summer will be in May 15th, and that will be all about ticks, tick biology, the invasive species tick connection should be very interesting. And hope we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks again.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Well,